So, and one other gratitude I'll shout out. I am from Rachel. I am so grateful for finding this community in my hometown, Naples Unity Community. Thank you.
And here we go with some vintage Lovin' Spoonful. A 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you believe in magic? Find it in your heart. Now the music can free you whenever it starts. It's magic. If the music is groovy, it makes you feel happy like an old-time movie. I'll tell you about the magic and it'll free your soul. But I try and tell a stranger about rock and roll. Do you believe in magic? Don't bother to choose if it's jug band music or rhythm and blues. Just go and listen. It'll start with a smile. It won't wipe off your face no matter how hard you try. Your feet start tapping and you can't seem to find how you get there, so you just blow your mind. It's magic. If you believe in magic, if you believe in magic, come along with me. We'll dance until morning, till 2:45. And maybe, if the music is right, I'll meet you tomorrow sort of late at night. And we'll go dancing, then you'll see how the magic's in the music and the music's in me. Do you believe in magic? Believe like I believe. You believe like I believe. Do you believe like I believe in magic? Believe like I believe. Okay, that rehearsal paid off. Yeah, yes, okay. Yeah, it'll be Venmo. Don't wait up.
Thank you, Michael, and the Rhythm Crew. I love how it gets bigger every week. So please feel free to join us anytime you want. Today we have our dear Carsten Spencer here to give us the lesson of Do You Believe in Magic? Carsten.
Can you feel it? Magic here in this space? Whew, I'm feeling it. When I saw my name up there, Carsten Spencer, doing the talk, my hands started sweating. That's energy that says, yeah, you've got something to do today. You're blessed to be part of this community and to be invited to come up and share about magic. So let's breathe into that energy of magic and just notice how it feels in this space. I mean, we talk about it each week. We light the candle. We talk about gratitude. We say prayers for each other. We feel that what I feel, you feel too. So there's so much more going on than what our physical senses can feel and sense and hear and see. And that's the magic we open to in this space, in this community. So I'm going to make a tone right now, and I want everyone to close their eyes and just allow this tone to move through you. I'm sending energy from me to you, and it's magic. And then notice the silence that emanates after the physical tone ends. Feel this space together. Feel the heart connection. Recognize that that heart that's beating in your chest creates a rhythm. And let's imagine that that beating heart is beating in a syncopated or perfect rhythm with every other heart on the planet. Not just humans, but our animals that share hearts. And as you breathe into that heart space, recognizing that it's that divine breath that everywhere surrounds us, this magical life force substance that allows the heart to beat and moves it through, and that we share this breath with every other living thing on the planet. So this magic we talk about at Unity, about that oneness, that connection, it's there. It's real. We breathe it in with each moment. We help to evolve the entire system with each breath. It's magic. But in our human journey, we get so programmed kind of early in childhood that, because when we're kids, we know the magic, right? We can decide we're going to play cops and robbers or whatever game we play, and it's real to us. It ignites the feelings. We feel the connection. Who remembers playing hide and seek when they were kids? Remember how magic that was? The energy, the adrenaline that would flow when you'd run and find your hiding place, and you'd feel so safe in that special place, and then someone was coming and you'd get so scared. And then we grow up, and our power, the presence that exists in us, we turn that craziness into reality. And we forget that all the drama, all the trauma that's out there, we've created. And we take it so seriously. But the magic that I want to share with you today is that cosmic joke, is that truth that we know at Unity, that there is only one presence and one power, and it is divine. And even though our human minds that get so programmed with, but no, that's not true, you have to prove yourself here, all this stuff that we're told we have to do, we forget that when we stop, breathe in the magic, look around at what's here now in this present moment, the power, the magic is always there. And we recognize that so much of the angst that we feel is self-created, is based on what we're telling ourselves about what's happening out there. We talked about a member who's moved on, a longtime member who's moved on. Let's open to the magic that that member, Mike is his name. I don't know if I've ever met Mike. Mike. Ike? Mike, it is Mike. Mike's here with us now. Of course he is. Where would he choose to go once he left the body and he's in that moment of transition where he's saying goodbye, he's leaving, he's opening to the heart connections he had here? Those of you who knew him, can you feel him here in the room? Because I feel him and I didn't know him. Yeah. So I'm going to share a few things that are magic for me in the world, and I invite you to we'll do a little sharing, share what's magic for you, the things that came up for me. First of all, when I was invited to speak, and I decided to talk about magic. It came up because I was sitting here last week going, what am I going to talk about next week? And what I realized as I sat down and the service started and the tears came to my eyes was the magic in this community, because I was feeling kind of cranky last week. I woke up and kind of that heaviness was there. I know we can sometimes wake up, and through that heavy lens, when I look out at the world, suddenly it changes. Do you guys notice that? Things that the day before looked wonderful or good or maybe just neutral, when that heaviness is there, it's, oh, that again, or oh, not that. And that resistance comes up. But when I walk in these doors, and not just this Unity Church, but I've been involved with many Unity churches and many spiritual centers, there's magic there because we've chosen the magic to be there. We've put it there. And so I decided, let me talk about magic. And once I decided to do that, it was such a great week because I was looking for and seeing magic everywhere. I was asking myself, especially during those struggling, triggering times, because life itself can be very lifey. It can come up and push your buttons. During those moments, I would say, do I believe in magic? Do I need to give this all my attention with that negative lens, or can I be that child again? Can I pretend this isn't real? And in the pretending, what comes up is that truth. No, I know in my heart center that it's not real. This is all just an experience that we're not only having, but that we're creating together. And we have power in the presence. And I think Michael's got that song later, this magic moment, because that's where it happens. That's where the joy is. That's where the life is. That's where the decisions we can choose to make. Am I going to focus on the error thinking of collective consciousness that, oh, it's tragic, it's bad, oh, someone died, someone's been diagnosed with a terminal disease? I read, I guess it was during this past week, I read on Facebook that Jane Fonda had been diagnosed again with cancer. She had cancer before and it went into remission and she was diagnosed again. And my first thought was, oh, not Jane, because I love her. But then I continued to read the post, and it said what Jane had commented about her illness. And she said, I've had cancer before, and I know it's such a wonderful teacher. So I'm excited to see what kind of lessons I will learn through this. Magic, right? And we all have the opportunity to do that with anything that shows up, particularly if we're unitics, which is the word I like to use, and we come to the world with that one powerful statement that there is one presence, one power active in the universe and in my life, in your life, in the world, and it is that God, the good, omnipotent. So when the, quote, seemingly tragic or horrific or not good comes up, it's not only our opportunity, it's our practice to say, what if this is God? What if I can truly believe that statement? Even if I don't understand it intellectually, let me breathe it into this heart. Let me just imagine that God is present in this situation and that learning, growth, opportunities are present. And I think that's where our real magic is as human beings. It's our imagination, our ability to imagine, to use this growing intellect, and it's growing. It continues to grow. That's the other thing we forget. Our ego wants to figure out what it is and stay present. Say, okay, I got it, now I can feel safe. But the truth is, we're always evolving. With each breath, we're continuing to blossom. And so the power is to embrace the not knowing, because that's how we connect and activate our co-creator, that source energy, as I like to call it. Kids love to embrace the not knowing, right? Yeah, the adventure. And so I've learned a lot through my Unity teachings and through my other spiritual teachings that when I can focus on life as an adventure rather than a problem, everything shifts. And it can be magic. It can happen in a moment. So I want to share some of the things for me where magic shows up. The first thing is white feathers. I have a couple of clients who, similar thing, when white feathers show up for them, they know that their mom is present. My mom has passed, and these two clients, their mom has passed. And it's so interesting because often those white feathers will show up when I may not realize it consciously. Tears are coming. But I'm realizing I need my mother's love right now. Right? Isn't there times in our life when we all kind of need that? We feel like that lost little child and we kind of need that affirmation that everything's okay, even though sometimes it doesn't look like it is, that's when the white feathers will show up. Or the other times is when I am feeling that connection, I'm feeling that vastness, that eternal quality of who I am, and there's a white feather floating down. The other thing is dimes. This showed up when I went to a spiritual community a number of years ago, and someone else was talking about how silver dollars showed up for them. All I got was dimes, but for me, it's just as magical as the silver dollars because they show up in places that I know it's magic. Always at times when I'm needing that affirmation, I'm needing the universe to say, there's something more happening here than what we've been told or what you think. The other thing is hummingbirds. Boy, they're so present for me, and butterflies. Haven't seen the actual unicorn yet, but I'll tell you, sometimes when I'm deep in meditation and I've got something going on or I've got a question in my mind, it's when I suddenly see that unicorn in my mind's eye that I know that that's that voice of that co-creator. So anything for you guys that comes up that allows you to say, hey, there's that divine presence here now affirming me. Anything? Rainbows, wonderful. And I remember that double rainbow at Queen Elizabeth's funeral. Yeah. What was that? Any color butterfly works for me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good. So other people have butterflies. So I invite you to stay open this week, looking at those places where magic shows up, where certain things show up. The story that I want to share is about the magic that came through with my cat. It actually involves 3 different cats, and yet I know that at the essence of all these 3 cats is what I call my guardian angel. It's a divine energy that said, I'm not only with you in your mind and imagination during this life, the tears are coming again, but I am going to be with you through very difficult times, and even when I pass out of one body, I'm going to show up in another body, and you're going to know it's me, and we're going to live this life together. So the first one is my cat named Aretha. She was this little black kitten who I found first. My friends that lived up the street, their cat had a litter. And I had my heart set on the little gray cat. I'd always wanted a gray cat, and there were 2 gray cats in this litter. And I would go play with them almost every day after school because I'd hang out with, these were like they were like my other family. And the little black one would always crawl up my leg and sit in my lap. And I was like, oh, hi, you're cute. But I grabbed the other one. Well, both of the gray kittens died. They were very healthy, but they just went. And so I realized, oh, I guess I'm meant to take this little black kitten, which I named Aretha because she had this very vocal kitty. And she got me through the divorce of my parents, really, and I'm not going to go into the struggles during the challenges I had during my teenage years, but there was a lot of trauma. Clearing of old karma is the way I see it now, and it's been a challenge, and it continues. But there was Aretha, and she used to put her arms around my neck. I had long hair at that point. I was kind of a little surfer hippie kid, and she would put her arms around my neck and nuzzle into right below my ear into the hair, and she would purr. And that's often how I would fall asleep at night. And sometimes she would take me from tears, because that's how tough some of those times were after the divorce, and I was just really in this place where there was just no sense of grounding, except for Aretha. She was there. She almost died twice, poisoned once, and cat fever the other time, and yet miracle after miracle. After 3 days one time when we had a little cat door, and as sick as she was, she pushed herself through that cat door, because as you may know, cats, when they get ready to die, they go off and find their place. Well, she was gone for 3 days, and I had kind of accepted it. I was getting ready to go to my little job. I worked at Ray's Shoe Repair up the street during my high school time. And I put on Aretha's album at that point, which had that song, Until You Come Back to Me. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to knock on your door, tap on your window. I listened to that song and just had that moment of grief where I just sobbed. You know, she was gone. What could I do? And I went out to get into my old crumpled up Mercedes. That was an old car that my stepfather gifted me on my birthday. And there she was. Just, you know, she was skin and bones. I mean, how she came back from where she was. But I totally believe that it was my need for her at that point. That during that crying and feeling the grief, it opened the door for you. But she came back, and she lived for another 7 years. Got me through high school. Got me to New York. Moved with me there and settled me there. And then after a number of years in New York, she was 14, so she was getting old, and she began to show some of the signs of age. And I kept thinking, what am I going to do for my little girl? And I kept having these dreams that I was getting another cat and that it was somehow bringing new life to Aretha. And I thought, no, anyone who knows that has an animal that bonds with you, that's your animal, and that animal's not going to accept another animal. But I kept dreaming, and I've learned to trust my dreams. So me and my roommate at that point went to the SPCA and found this little darling little kitten named Max. And we brought him home. And Aretha she was not happy at first, but at least it was activating her some of the what's going on here. And by the third night, by the second night, they were sitting on the couch. Aretha was here on this side. We called him Max. Max was on the other side. Tiny little kitten. And he, of course, wanted to be near Aretha, and she was would keep her distance. But by the third night, they were actually sitting on either of my legs. And I thought, okay, this is going to work out. So the next day I woke up, did a meditation, and during my meditation I went into this deep place where I felt my hands kind of curl up. They felt heavy and thick, and I thought, this is kind of a strange sensation, but I didn't really make anything of it because I was pretty much deep in meditation. Then I left to go, I had an audition. When I was being an actor in New York, I went to my audition, and when I came back, the first thing I did was, see how the cats are doing. And Max was there, sitting there meowing, but where was Aretha? She wasn't around. And then I went in the bedroom, and I saw my phone book open to the vet's number, and I thought, oh no, what happened? Because I called immediately to the vet. This is before cell phones. And I said, is my roommate there with my Aretha? She said, and the woman said, oh yes, let you speak to him. And so my friend Stuart got on the phone and through his tears said, our girl's gone. And of course I rushed over. We had the same moment when we were, sitting together in the park having our memories and crying. That evening when I got back to the house, little Max, who had been eating on his own before, he'd been able to jump and kind of climb up onto the bed, all these things that he was doing when Aretha was there, he was helpless all of a sudden. I had to be feeding him with a spoon. Something had shifted, and nothing really sank in at that point, but that night as I was lying getting ready to go to sleep, Max actually was able to crawl up onto the bed again, which he hadn't been doing for the whole day, walked over to me, I looked at him, and I just felt Aretha there. It was so potent, and I didn't say it out loud, but I thought, Aretha, if you're in there, just give me a sign. And Max moved over, nuzzled into my hair, and began to purr. The next morning when I woke up, same thing. We had to feed him, he wasn't there, and my sense was Aretha had moved into this new cat, and she wasn't Aretha anymore, it was now Max, but that kitty was there. And throughout Max's life, I felt Aretha present at certain moments. He very much had his own personality. He was very much his own cat. And then towards the end of his life, he around 16 years old, he was diagnosed with kidney disease. And I took him to the vet. They said, well, we'll give him 6 months to live if you give him these fluids. So I started giving him the fluids. But I was praying regularly, saying, I don't want Max to go. I want him to hang out. And then I ran into someone at the pet food store who said, well, if you switch his diet and give him raw, there's all these different protocols, which of course I began to do. Well, Max, at 16 at that point, given 6 months to live, lived for another, 16, he died when he was 24, so he lived for another 8 years. He got me back out to Southern California, where I went out to take care of my mom at the end of her life. And he was there with me after my mom passed. He got me all the way up to San Francisco here. And the first night I was here, I was actually not in the apartment I'm at yet. I was staying at a friend's apartment. But by the time we finally got up here, he was old. He was showing the signs of age of 24. He really was pretty much blind. He couldn't hear. But there was this inner sense, and that's the other thing that I want to share about magic. If you have animals, you know that they possess magic. They have abilities that, are pretty magic, and they're wanting to share them with us if we will listen. And that's one thing I learned from Max. With no hearing and no eyesight, I used to take him to the beach with me every day when I was taking care of my mom. And it was about a mile hike down to the beach. I would usually carry him down, but when the sun would start to go down, he would feel the chill. He would get up and just start walking towards the car. How he knew how to get to the car, I have no idea, but I'd say to my friends when I was there, "Come on, time to go, Max is heading back for the car." And he would walk us all the way back to the car. Anyway, I'm going to try to make a long story short, which I think is too late now. Magic. But the final night with Max, he got me all the way up here from my mom's house. We were staying with a friend. That evening when I first got there, my friend was actually traveling, so we had the whole place to ourselves. Max, who really hadn't, he'd been eating and sleeping pretty much for the last couple of months. But that evening, he began meowing. He came over to me after he ate a big meal, and we had this love fest where I just petted him, and he purred, and he rubbed up against me for like a good 45 minutes. And we fell asleep like that. And then the next morning, the house had a little tiny balcony, completely fenced in. I put his cat box out on the balcony because he loved the sunshine. The sun was coming in. And then I was doing stuff in the apartment. I went out to check on him an hour later, and there was one pea in his little cat box, and he was gone. I mean, gone. There was no body there. There was no nothing. I checked every possible place where he could have gone, and let me say, he had not been able to jump up on any. I mean, he was old, and so there's the only other rational explanation that I could come up with is maybe a bird of prey saw him and flew onto this thing and picked him up. But my sense, and when I tuned into my energies or my guides, it was like he ascended. He was done. He was one of those cats or animals who was an ascended being. He was gone. And then a couple of years ago, it's been 4 years now, my partner said, "I want to get a Bengal cat." And I'd always gotten my cats at the SPCA because I wanted to save a cat from being killed. But I'd always also been fascinated with Bengals. So I said to Turo, "Okay, let's get the Bengal." So we found someone who had Bengals. They brought us down a couple kittens to choose from. The first one walked out of the cage, and my partner was the one to say, "Oh, that's the one I want." I said, "Well, put the other one back in because I don't want to fall in love with the other one." And I said to my partner, "What do you want to name?" He said, "Well, we're naming him Max." And he just knew that cat was going to be named Max because, I don't know if he knew it subconsciously or consciously, but because this is Max. And I feel him so present. But not only Max, he actually comes up, doesn't actually put his arms around me, but he, just like Aretha did, he lies here, purrs, and we have that connection. That's the only real connection he has with Aretha. Other than that, he goes out on his leash every day. But it's magic. Amen. 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 So as we breathe into that energy of magic, as we digest the possibilities of this life, who we are, what's happening here, I invite you to use a tool that I use to open to the magic, which is the embracing of the I don't know. One of the things we get so programmed with, particularly when we're moving from childhood into adulthood, is we have to be practical, we have to be rational, we have to realize what's really out there, we have to know what's going on. And so we hold on to knowing. If we can figure it out, we can feel safe. But what I've noticed in my spiritual journey is when I let go of what I think I know, that's when I invite in the magic. That our Sonia Milton, our minister at the Other Unity for many years, she used to talk about how her mom called herself an atheist, but she used to talk about how it loves to happen. And it, according to Sonia, was her mom's version of God. It was the magic. And the magic shows up for me when I embrace the not knowing, let go of what I think I know, and open to the infinite possibilities, open to what's there that maybe doesn't make sense with my programmed intellect, that is there to help expand that mind. And so I invite you this week as you move through your adventures to invite in the not knowing, to open to the adventure of life, to ask yourself, am I a problem solver or am I an adventurer? If we have a co-creator, if there is only one power, one presence, that one power, that one presence knows who we are, knows what we're needing, knows what we're wanting, and is always offering it to us if we're only willing to step back, take a breath, let go of what we think we know, and ask, what if this is God the good, omnipotent? What if this breath that surrounds me is divine, conscious breath that I've been helping to evolve, not only during this lifetime, but all through all my ancestors? What if they're with me with each breath, living in my DNA? Just noticing how that feels. So get comfortable, let your eyes close as we breathe into that. And I'm going to share as we go into our time of meditation what came up for me as I was meditating this morning that wanted to be shared with you all. Let your mind, your conscious self, align with this magic moment and be willing to choose the faith and trust that blossoms in the willingness to embrace the not knowing. Breathe into this magic moment. Notice that space, that openness, that still, silent presence. And now ask yourself, do I really believe in one presence and one power? Just asking yourself, and there's no right or wrong answer. Do I really believe in one power and one presence? And if I do, can I feel that one presence, that one power here now in this magic moment? What does it feel like to trust the goodness, the divinity of my life experience? All of it. All of it. Does it feel like a relief to let go of that ego's job to constantly be sifting through this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong? And just embrace that the magic moment will always offer you choices. And the magic is you have the power to choose. Not from right or wrong or good or bad, but just what feels valid for you in this moment. Let your mind, your conscious self, align with the magic moment and be willing to choose the faith and trust that blossoms in the willingness to embrace the not knowing and breathe into this magic moment. Because all of it is divine, a divine expression of that one presence, that one power. Experiencing and expressing as you. You are the presence of that power, expressing and creating this, here, now, magic moment. I send you off from here today with magic in your hearts, with the power of your imagination, and with all the love, respect, gratitude, and appreciation for each of you, for this space, and for our time together.
Thank you, Carsten, for reminding us to look for, feel the magic, and if you're not sure where it is, look at your pet, look at your children, and feel it around you. All right, here we go. Here at Unity Spiritual Center, we are an ocean of love. We have an inspiring vision, an exciting mission, and compelling values by which we strive to live. Please join with me in saying them aloud. Our vision is centered in God. We co-create a world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. And our mission is we are creative, joy-filled spiritual community dedicated to healing, inspiring, and transforming the lives of all people through prayer, education, and love. And our values are, we are spirit-led, generous with resources, inclusive, joyously creative, and guided by integrity. And in this space, feeling so inspired by our vision, mission, and values, and feeling so enriched by what we've experienced here today, let us take time now to be a channel for enrichment through our generous tithes and love offerings. As Michael shares the next beautiful song, please take time to write out a check to USC, or if you're on Zoom, make a donation online. If you're here in the sanctuary, the ushers will come forward to take your offering. Practicing the principle of tithing ourselves as a spiritual community, we are pleased to tithe 10% of the offering collected every Sunday to various Unity organizations and local nonprofits serving our city. Let us now take a moment to bless our tithes and love offerings as we cup them in our hands or next to our hearts. Let us say our offering blessing, which is on the screen. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God.
All right, percussion section, drop something in there on your way up here. And here we go for this magic moment. This magic moment, so different and so new, was like any other, until the message came through, and then it happened. It took me by surprise. I knew that we all felt it too, by the look in your eyes, sweeter than a wine, softer than a summer night. Everything we want, we have, and our future is bright. This magic moment, it is yours and it is mine, will last I love it when the percussion section gets cooking here.
Thank you.